Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and you know what time it is? Another virus investigations. This time, this chubby Indian is going to be installing the coronavirus into his computer. Now if you haven't been following the news, there's a country out there with 5 letters in its name, and it starts with an I believe. Italy, alright? Oh, you were expecting something else, weren't you? But I got you there. Ladies and gentlemen, Italy is a country right now that's going through a bit of a coronavirus epidemic, like most countries in the world right now that have travel's a bitch these days, let me point it out. But one of the things that's also been hitting the rounds is the computer virus that is using coronavirus to spread itself over to people. Now, I'm just going to start off the video by saying this, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, all right, again, with virus investigations, please don't download these samples and try them on your own terms. I'm going to be honest with you. Unless you really know what you're doing, I really wouldn't risk some of the malware we cover, because this kind of malware that we're focusing on today is literally designed to hijack your personal information and really send it off to a CNC server. So unless you know what you're doing, don't really get into it. But back to the topic at hand. Now, there's been an email floating around on Italian web servers right now, Italian email servers, all about the coronavirus and what you can do to protect yourself from it. Now, I have this email in particular, part of an actual article right here from La Repubblica. All right, now here's the coronavirus informazioni importanti su precauzioni. All right, now I'm going to assume that's a precautionary, important information. All right, it doesn't take too much knowledge to figure that one out. All right, I can't really speak Italian. I'm sorry for butchering your language. But, you know, going further into it, of course, you can see it's signed by a Dr. Penelope Marchetti, and I would bet my left nut that this is an actual respected member of the Italian medical community. Now, as you can see, an email like this hitting Italian email inboxes out there, some people may in fact fall for it. Now, here's another case example right here. This is by Dr. Liang, in the intensive care physician, by the way, working for the World Health Organization, Plague Prevention and Control. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys, real with you right now. That is a load of BS, okay? Now, why is it a load of BS, Muda? How can you prove that? How can you say without a shadow of a doubt? Well, I'm just going to apply some inference over here. I don't think the World Health Organization necessarily contacts individuals, probably governments and whatnot first. If the individual needs to be contacted, sure, but that's just me taking a wild guess. Now, if you go back to the time when I was scraping my hog back in the day, you know, almost a year ago, and I had an email that, wow, I can't believe I said that. That's disgusting. Back when I did all that, and I got an email that said, "Ooh, we got a compromising video of you, Muda." Well, when we looked into that, of course, it was obviously a BS scam email. But when we looked further into it, there was proof. We found the money trail of serious money being traded. You know, tens of thousands of dollars being traded. So even if I didn't fall for it, somebody in the general public did. Now, I'm going to be real with you. Computers are something that people get or they don't get, okay? Some people are smart in some things and they aren't. It's not wrong to be not knowledgeable about it, but that's why this video exists. All right, my favorite part, analysis. All right, so you're not seeing double, okay? You're not seeing two hedgehogs. These are two separate computers. Now, if we open up our virtual box here, I'm using this today, okay, you can see that I've got Win10 COVID and Win10 COVID clone. The reason why I have two virtual machines is because we're going to have one that's going to be a virgin machine and one that's going to be the infected machine. Now, why are we doing it in such a manner? So here's the logic, all right? We know that when we launch this virus on the infected machine, it's going to start pinging servers. Now, what I've done here is I've gotten two different network addresses for each machine. Using Linux, I'm actually going to go and assess each of these systems in parallel as one is infected and one isn't. And I'm just going to leave these systems running for like 30 minutes and call it a day. The reason why I'm doing this is so these systems have no idea they're being assessed. I'm going to get Linux. I'm going to fire up terminal commands. I'm going to assess these systems one by one. And what I'm going to do is after 30 minutes or so, I'm going to take those parallel data sets of network activity. I'm going to calculate the difference. So basically, I'm going to get rid of all the pings and all the network traffic that is the exact same between these two. And so I'm going to see what the one on the infected one is doing differently to the one that is not infected. So this is the general logic. I'm going to calculate both of these, and I'm going to see what this is doing differently, the infected versus the non-infected. So here's this Word document right here from the sample, and I'm just going to copy that out there. Usually with these cases, I'm going to enter the password real quick to get this file extracted. One more thing, I'm going to go into, and this is real quick, I'm going to go over here and, virus has been found. Damn it. Windows just gets in and protects me. God damn you. Don't protect me. But that's actually good. Let's see what Windows caught it up as. So Windows is saying that this is the donoff.rp capital MTB. This is the Trojan downloader, which is good. We'll actually explain what it's doing here real quickly. I'm going to go into this and just disable Windows Defender. So I don't need protection. I want this to get infected. Leave me alone, Windows. Call it a day. Now, it's safe to say we can launch this with pretty much any document viewer that has macro support. The key to this malware is it's going to exploit the macro utilities in Office tools. So it doesn't matter if you're necessarily using Microsoft Word. You could be using OpenOffice, LibreOffice. If your Office program supports macros, which if you don't know what macros are, I'll run them through you real quick. Let's say you're playing an MMO and you got to do like 10 commands at once. You can macro them to one key, and so all you have to do is hit that key and run 10 commands. Let's say you're editing a video, right? And you got to put like 10 video effects into like a block. You can macro those 10 effects and what you're doing into a key and press that key and save yourself a bunch of time. And the same logic applies. It's basically shortening a string of commands into just one command. And that's effectively what the macro is. So for documents, what it's doing is when we launch this, it's going to abuse macros and run code and run programs that we necessarily don't want it to do. So to start off with this, we're actually going to use LibreOffice to run it. LibreOffice has told us this document contains macros. Macros may contain viruses. Execution of macros is disabled due to the current macro security settings and tool options, LibreOffice, and security. So we're actually going to allow it to do what it needs to. So we're going to go to Tools, Macro Security, and just give it low. All right, all macros can run without any form of control, so that's good. Now, this document over here, for those of you who are looking at it right now, says Office, your application activated. This document was created in an earlier version of Microsoft Office Word. To view full content, please click Enable Editing and Enable Content. So if you're on Word, it would ask you this. But we're going to relax over here. It's got the Microsoft Office 2020 watermark. Does not look legit at all, but we're going to relaunch this just so we can launch those macros again. There we go. Yeah, it's all the macros definitely have launched, and it has done its thing. So we have actually, so now this VM is completely infected with this coronavirus. Now here's where things start to really get interesting. So here on the left, on the non-infected virtual machine, this is the app data local temp directory where these new files get created and usually stored. Now on the left, the last thing you can see is ARIA debug 6616, and there are some slight differences between both of them, right? And I think that's mostly due to like timing differences, because you can see under it, the actual temporary files between all this have effectively been the same. So that being said, let's go look at the newest files that have been made. Now, ever since I've launched it, it's created roughly 4 new files. So you've got these random names, but most importantly, you have to look at them as temp files and the size of them. And then you've also got sqlite64.dll as well that's just been made. Now, opening both of these up real quick, I'm just going to fire them up in this like Rando Trio Office that I just downloaded off Microsoft Store for this in particular. Just opening this real quickly, if I can truly get into the read-only, you can actually see like it's just your generic garble file. You can't really dig too much out of this, but these are new files that have been created. I mean, if you look too deep into it, it's got Microsoft-based cryptographic provider, version 1.0, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, basically it's generated a whole batch of new files, but that's not even the biggest scenario. See, I've actually cloned a bunch of files that I found on my system that, as you can see, they're JavaScript files, and this is kind of bad news. So you got Visual Basic Scripts, JavaScript, and whatever the fuck ZXTRTU is, which I guess I'll open at this point. I kind of don't care. It's an infected system anyways. Nothing bad can happen. But we can actually open and see what some of these are to begin with. So let me just fire up and open up some of these scripts to begin with. So let me just edit these out. Now, this is the real meat and potatoes of the scenario, okay? This is where it gets really interesting. So here you have a VBA file, a VB script. Up here you have a JavaScript file, and right here you have an actual application called KB204 blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason this exists is as we launched that document and it fired those macros, first it made this VB script file, which then created this like hidden JavaScript file on the hard drive. This JavaScript file contained the content, the code enough for it to reach a command server that the hackers are using to download this application onto this virtual machine, and then by launching or by automatically running this application, this is being used to steal data from me and send it back to the actual hackers themselves right now. So they've gotten the dummy accounts through this, and they've gotten ideas of my system, but it's not going to do much for them because let's be real here. This is a virtual machine, and I'm not putting my personal information on this. Now, firing up VirusTotal on here real quick and throwing that application in, you can see that 46 engines have detected this. In fact, it's a pretty severe Trojan to begin with. Here in the VirusTotal analysis, this specific application brings up all the red flags imaginable. And this is where you can tell that this is some serious shit. And this isn't a joke at this point. This is actually directly stealing stuff. And the thing that kind of almost sort of freaks me out is I'm not sure if what these tags are exactly going for, but it almost freaks me out wondering if this is some VM busting code in it, which again, like I said in the beginning of this video, be careful if you're attempting this. The reason why I said that was sometimes when you're dealing with malware like this, because now we're getting into the weeds, now we're getting into the real freaky shit. Some of the stuff can have VM busting stuff, VM detection code within it that can prevent me from actually executing it on a virtual machine, which in this case, it wasn't really the problem. But the freaky part about it is it could contain code that could escape the VM and hit my actual host operating system. Luckily, since I'm using KVM and a very hardened version of kernel virtual machine where I have a bunch of security fixes added to it, I'm not necessarily freaked out because of it. But if you weren't prepared like I was, you could screw yourself and shoot yourself in the foot. You know, nobody wants a host that's infected. You only want the VM. So again, unless you know what you're doing, be a little careful walking into it. Okay, so the 30 minutes have passed, and I basically used Wireshark to capture the network traffic from both network controllers on the virtual machines. And after calculating the diffs and basically looking between each PCAP file and wondering, okay, this is the difference, this is what this did versus that, I narrowed down the IPs that kind of really stuck out. Now here, just for simplicity's sake, I have two IP addresses that I know that I hit that were different on the infected machine versus the regular machine. Again, I wasn't doing anything on these machines other than opening up some folders and whatnot, and that would not have triggered some erratic network activity to begin with. So let's just do a couple whois searches and figure out what these two IP addresses really are. All right, what is this? God, I hate these captchas. These are like the worst captchas to ever exist. Like, honestly, the picture ones are the absolute, like, ass end. It is literally coming from hell. Now, here I've got some, ooh, what is this? So we actually were pinging a IP address in Romania. Romania, Brazov, Romarg, SRL. So this, as far as I know, this has to be the actual IP, the ISP in Romania, most definitely. And going back to it, I'm trying to figure out who this person in particular really is. Now I'm going to blur some of this for sure, just because it actually details some cell phone numbers that I don't want to leak out, because it would technically be, you know, doxing somebody, and I don't want to do it regardless if they're hacking me or whatnot. It's just not right. If you look around over here real quickly though, and I'm going to tell you this much for now, one of them is definitely an ISP that I'm hitting for sure, I think, called Global X MNT or something. I think that's definitely a UK-based ISP that I'm hitting. But one of them actually has a full name, a full like address, literally in Romania. And it comes down to even a cell phone number. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually getting hacked by someone out in Romania, places in Russia even, and I don't know, we're getting hit in the EU sector right now. So basically there are people who are hijacking my data, and in fact they actually hijacked the data that was on the VM to begin with. First off, let's kill these virtual machines, remove, delete everything, fucking wipe this shit. Yes, virtual machines were harmed in the production of this video, bite me. Now, the malware that we were hit with in this particular case was called TrickBot malware. Now, this malware is malware that typically, like Emotet, was apparently used in banking banking cases. You know, people who are out there to steal very key financial information from users. But it can be extended to adding you to a botnet or whatnot. Identity theft, whatever you want to call it, passwords, personal information being hijacked. Like I said earlier, this virus, you know, it's not cute. You know, it's something literally designed to fuck you over. So again, That's kind of what we hit out with. So we started out with a little coronavirus spam message that led all the way up to personal data being hijacked right in front of your eyes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this video off because I kept you around too long, but like I've always said, be careful when it comes to computers. It's okay to not know about things, but that's why this video exists. So at least now you know to watch out for spam, because spam is just one of those places where you can have somebody blackmail you for scraping the hog, all the way down to stealing all of your private information within one opening of a Word document right there. So be careful, be alert, and watch out for these obvious scams. And if you know somebody that could fall for this, help them out. Keep the world safe and all that good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That being said, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am